I've been thinking about what it is that makes people delay getting life insurance. What is it that makes them put it off? They have an opportunity to do it. They're talking to somebody, and yet they need to think about it, and they ultimately wind up not doing it. Um, I know it's there. There are different reasons for different people. Maybe it's you're thinking, I'm gonna start talking to this guy, and he's never gonna leave me alone about it. He's gonna be pesky, and sometimes that's the case. I know for me personally, I don't have time for that nonsense. I'll follow up with somebody, but I'm not going to uh, drag anybody kicking and screaming to buying some life insurance. I want to work with people that are serious about it. So that's the case sometimes. Sometimes it's just it's too morbid for some people. That they don't want to think about death and dying, or maybe they've lost somebody recently and it's just too painful to think about at the time. But in my experience, there's a bigger thing I run into quite a bit, and that's the cost. People are afraid that it's going to cost too much, when a lot of times they have no idea what it's going to cost. Because when I run a comparison, well, people go, "That's I can afford that. That's not that bad." So I want to tell you about 5 things that affect the price of life insurance, just generally speaking. And 3 of those things you can't do anything about. The fourth one you have some control, and the fifth one you absolutely have some control over what it's going to cost. So the 5 things are the age at which you get it. Uh, and again, we're talking about a whole lifetime policy where the price is locked at the age you bought it. So that's the first factor. Your age is what it is. You do it today, then that's where you have the most control. If you wait 3 years, it's going to go up. If you wait another years, so everybody knows this. The older you get, the more it's going to cost. The next thing is tobacco use. If you use tobacco in any form, uh, generally speaking, then it's going to cost you more. You're not going to get that discount. Uh, the next one, and that is something that you can control, but most companies are looking backward 12 years. Have you used any form of tobacco in the last 12 years? 12 months, I'm sorry, in the last 12 months. And some will ask, specifically, is it cigarettes, or some will ask any form of tobacco or any nicotine products. So it's a little bit different from company to company. The next one is your gender. Again, you can't do anything about that unless you're going to pull a Bruce Jenner on me. But it's generally higher for men, cheaper for women. And the only reason I can figure is that men do stupider stuff and we just don't last as long. So that affects the price too. The fourth thing is your health. Any health conditions, chronic conditions that you may have. They also look at when was it diagnosed, how severe is it, and what kind of treatment are you getting, what kind of medications are you on, and what's the dosage. So those are all factors. That's one that you can have some influence on. If your health improves over time, uh, that can be a factor. If your health changes for the worse, then you're going to have a totally different set of questions about. You're going to have fewer options for life insurance. If you get diagnosed with something. But then the last one is, how much do you need? There's how much life insurance do you need? There's how much do you want? And then there's how much do you ultimately get? I know everybody would love to say, hey, I'd love to have $1 million of life insurance and my family would be set. But generally, we can't afford to do that. There's how much you need, from a practical and logical standpoint. And then there's how much do you get. So what you should understand is that it's perfectly okay and it's perfectly normal to own multiple life insurance policies. So here's a scenario. Let's say that you're 60 years old and you would like to have $20,000, because right now, and we do look at the age you get it, how much do you need to get, because right now, based on current prices in this area, and it kind of coincides with the national average, $8,000 to $10,000 is about what a, a standard funeral costs. That increases 3.5% per year on average. So about every 4 years, it goes up $1,000. So what if you get enough for today? That picture is going to look different in 20 years. It's going to be more like 13 to 15,000 for a basic funeral. Obviously, cremation's a lot cheaper. So back to our scenario: you're 60 years old, and maybe you need to have about 20,000, but you can't afford that. So what you can do is go ahead and get 10,000, and you'll have that locked in at the age of 60. And then later on down the road, let's say when you're 65, you call me back and say, hey, John, I want to get the other 10,000. What we do is leave that original 10,000 alone because it's based on the age of 60. We don't want to wipe that out and start over at 20 or at the age of 65 because you're going to be paying more than you should. You'll have ultimately two policies, the one based on age 60 and the one based on age 65. So that's one way that you can do it. Get something in place now, and then if you're going to delay anything, delay the question of getting how much you want, and not the decision of getting something, because I can promise you, uh, I've never heard of, and I don't think it ever happens, that somebody gets a check for life insurance because they died. The family gets a check, and it was a few $1,000s short, so they wadded it up, threw it away, or sent it back to the insurance company. That doesn't happen. So that's so having something is a lot better than having nothing. So that's just an option for you, a way to get something in place, uh, and then at least have something in place, and then down the road you can get more and add to it later if you want. Uh, so it's also important too to have a broker that can run all the companies side by side, run a comparison with several dozen companies, and get you the best thing for your situation. So just something to think about. If you do need to have a talk about it, to chat on the phone or whatever, or really take a serious look at it, my phone number is here at the bottom of the screen. Call me, let's talk. Thanks.